Dear learners, welcome you all in another session of the course Systematics of Angiosperm. Today we will explore the family Amaryllidaceae, which is commonly called as Amaryllis family or Narcissus family. So now moving towards the systematic position of Amaryllidaceae family as given by Bentham. This particular family is also belong to the class Monocotyledone. As we have discussed earlier that Monocotyledone is directly classified into series. There will be no subclass by the classification given by Bentham, and this particular family is also belong to the series Epigyne. Epigyne, we have discussed earlier that this particular family is Amaryllidaceae is placed in this particular series Epigyne, and we have earlier discussed that Epigyne series in which all the plants that have a flower which are epigynous in nature, that means they have a inferior ovary. So the Monocotyledone, as we have seen, they have a generally one cotyledon and flowers are trimerous in nature, and particularly Epigyne, they have an inferior ovary, and that family today we are going to learn, that is the Amaryllidaceae family. So this is the systematic position given by Bentham, and according to Engler and Prantl, this family is also placed in Monocotyledone, and here the order is Liliales. So Monocotyledone, as we have discussed earlier, that Engler and Prantl also not subclassified the Monocotyledone into subclasses. So there is a coming order, that is the Liliales order. Now if we see the distribution of this particular family, this is commonly called as the Narcissus or Amaryllis family, as we have discussed earlier, and this covers around 73 genera and at least 1600 species all over the world, and mostly they are widely distributed in throughout the world, and chief distribution in the tropics and subtropics. So this particular family maybe you will find in worldwide, but they have a chief distribution in tropics and subtropics. Now moving towards the vegetative characters of this particular family. Most of these particular plants are generally they are perennial herbs, and they are perennating by means of an underground stem that may be generally bulb, rhizome or corm. So they have a prominently underground stem. In generally they have a bulb, but it may have a rhizome, corm. In general they have a habit that members resemble lilies. As you can see here, they quite resembles the Liliaceae family, and the roots of these particular plants are adventitious and fibrous in nature, and they have a underground stem like rhizome, bulb or corm. Here we have already discussed rhizome in the Gingiberaceae family, bulb and corm also the underground stems. These we will discuss later, and generally agave is reproduced by the vegetative by the bulbous means. And if we see the leaves of this particular family, generally leaves are arranged spirally. They are sessile, exstipulate, simple and mostly narrow in shape with entire margin. They have a thick, fleshy or linear lanceolate, and they maybe have a persistent fibrous, rigid coated with a wax, and they generally have a multi-costed parallel venation. So you can see that their habit is perennial, and these plants have a underground stem, and they can survive many generations due to the presence of their in unfavorable condition. The outer aerial shoot will be died, and their underground stem is lived for so long period. And when there is a presence of a favorable condition, these plants will come out in a generally very shorter period of time and blooms very beautiful flowers, as you can see here. That's why these particular family have many ornamentally economic plants also. Now moving towards the next floral character of this particular family, that is the inflorescence. Generally flowers are borne on a leafless scape, either singly or in the cymose or umbellate cluster. So they are maybe solitary flowers, or they have a cymose or umbellate type of a inflorescence, and generally you will find these flowers are protected by a bract called as spathe. As you can see here, this umbel is supported by a bract, which is you can visualize here, and this is a flower. You can see here it is a umbellate arrangement. And if we see a single flower, flower is generally bracteate, and bract are quite large, as you can see here. They are generally subsessile or maybe pedicellate, bisexual, complete and actinomorphic. That means they have a regular symmetry, but sometimes they may be zygomorphic, as in case of Sprachelia. And the flower is epigynous, as we have already discussed that this family belong to the series Epigyne. That means they have a epigynous flowers. Now if we see the perianth, now next floral part is perianth, that are 6 in numbers and they are arranged in 2 valves, and there are 3 in each valve. They are gamophilous and rarely they are polyphilous. As you can see here, there is a outer valves of tepals. These 3 are the this one and this one is the outer tepal, and these 3 are the inner one. And in case of narcissus and eukaryotes, at the junction of corolla tube, there is a limb and there is a crown which is called as corona. So you can see here, these are the tepals or perianth, and in the junction of this particular, you can see these are the gamophilous perianth, and at the junction of there is a formation of a corona, crown of corona, you can visualize here. So this is the particularly one of the diagnostic character of this particular family, and many members of this particular family shows the formation of a corona, that is the outgrowth of the perianth. We can visualize here. So this is the narcissus plants that are showing the corona. Now moving towards the next floral part, that is the androecium. Now moving towards the next floral part, that is androecium, which is represented by 6 stamens which are generally polyandrous. As we can see here, there is a number of 6 stamens is present, and these all are polyandrous, that means they are free. And epiphyllous, you can see they are attached to the tepals, that is termed as the epiphyllous, and arranged in 2 valves. You can see here, generally anthers are bithecous, that means they have a 2 lobes of anthers, and they may be dorsifixed or basifixed, intros or extros, and filament is distinct. You can identify that there is a presence of filaments, and sometimes they connote basally by staminal tubes. So sometimes they are maybe forming the staminal tube, and in case of Grythylis, the stamen number is maybe vary from 12 to 18. So in general, the stamens are 6 in numbers, but in Grythylis there is a 12 to 18 stamens are present, and these stamens are arranged in a 2 valves, as we can see here in this particular figure. Now moving toward the next floral part, that is the gynoecium. Gynoecium is tricarpellary, syncarpous and inferior ovary that have a trilocular or unilocular. In generally, they have a trilocular, but maybe unilocular in case of calostema, and they are showing the axile presentation with. Now next to the next floral part, that is gynoecium, which is represented by a tricarpellary syncarpous inferior ovary with trilocular or maybe unilocular, as in case of calostema, but in general they have a trilocular ovary and showing the axile presentation with numerous ovules in each locules, and the style is slender and stigma is simple or maybe trifid. As we can see here, you can see there is a presence of an inferior ovary. It is clearly showing here, and there is a style, and this one is the stigma. Here you can also see clearly there is a presence of an inferior ovary, and there here TS of ovary showing the axile presentation, and there is the number of many ovules in each locules. So this is clearly showing a trilocular structure with axile presentation in this TS of ovary, and the fruit of this particular family is also loculicidal capsule or maybe berry. And if we see the floral format of this particular family, as we have seen that generally they have a actinomorphic symmetry, but rarely they may also have a zygomorphic symmetry. They have a bisexual flowers, and there is a perianth that are the 6 in numbers, and they are arranged in tubals. They may be gamophilous or maybe polyphilous in nature, and the gynoecium is represented by tricarpillary syncarpus inferior ovary. So this is the floral formula of this particular family, Amaryllidaceae. Now moving towards the diagnostic character which is present in this particular family. Like we have seen that the plants are generally, they are perennial herbs. They have a dicot type. Now moving toward the diagnostic characters of this particular family, Amaryllidaceae, we can see here generally the plants are perennial herbs. They have a ditrichous radical leaves and they have a leafless scape. And then the inflorescences are generally monochasial cyme or two or many species erect around the flowers are present, as we have seen earlier in the flowers. Then the flowers are bisexual, actinomorphic, and they rarely may be zygomorphic in nature, and the perianth generally are gamophilous. The number of stamens is 6 and they are epiphyllous. But as we have seen that the stamen number is more, as in case of Garrulus, that you can see here they have a 12 to 18 numbers of stamens, and the gynoecium is typically a tricarpillary trilocular ovary with inferior and axile presentation. And the fruit is capsule, which we can see here. These are the fruit of capsule and the seeds are endospermic. So you can see one of the common plant, that is the cynum here. This is a cynum plant and you can see the fruits of cynum plant. And you can clearly see the perianth are 6 in numbers. They are generally arranged in tubers. They will be gamophilous. They generally jointed by the base, and the stamens generally they are 6 in numbers. Here they are attached to this particular perianth. This is the diagnostic features of this particular family, Amaryllidaceae. Now moving towards the common plants of this particular family, and the most common like Agave americana, which is also called as the American yellow or century plants, because this plant is flower in sometime 50 to 60 years, or maybe sometime it takes 100 years to flowering. So that's why it is called as a century plants. And this particular plant yield a fibrous plant that have a sap, and that sap after fermentation gives the alcoholic drink, which is the national drink of Mexico. And the next plant we have seen earlier, that is the Strinum asiaticum, which is cultivated for this ornamental beautiful flowers, as we have seen earlier in this particular slides. Then Curculogo orchoides, which is a small herb with blue flowers. Then Galanthus, which is also called as snowdrop, which is cultivated for its snow-like flowers. Then Narcissus, which is also called as Hindi as Nargis. This is also a ornamental, and this has a garden present in the garden all over the world. And the next plant is the Pancratium, which is also a herb with tunicated bulb and large flowers. Then the next one is the Zephyranthus, which is also called as the Zephyr lily, which has a bulbous herb with white flowers. So these are some common plants that belong to the family Amaryllidaceae. Now moving towards some plants, because they have alkaloid, like these are the Narcissus. You can see there is a corona. From this you can identify this particular plant. Then this one is the Amaryllis. Then this is the snowdrop. You can see these flowers, they are dropping in manner, that's why they are called as the snowdrop. So these are the some plants, the beautiful flowers, and they also have alkaloids. That's why they have a wide range of pharmacological activities also. Now coming to the next plant, that is the Narcissus perticus, as the common name of this particular family is either Amaryllis or Narcissus perticus. So this particular plant, in this slide you can see all the floral parts of the Narcissus. In this slide you can see all the floral part of Narcissus that represent the characteristics of the family Amaryllidaceae, or that also called as the Narcissus family. As you can see here, this is the views of the flower, in which we clearly visualize the bract that is worked as a covered the inflorescence. This is the bract, or also called as spathe. Then clearly you can see there is an inferior ovary which is present here, and in this ellipse of flower you will find this is the style, and this is the receptacle tube that is formed by the, and there is a stigma. Then there is a formation of a corona at the junction of the perianth tubes. As you can see in this particular flora, this is the flower which has a 6 perianth, and at the junction of these perianth there is a formation of the corona at the center. As you can see the plant that have the bulb with adventitious root, and these are the radical leaves, and these are the escapes of this particular radical leaves. You can see this flower has a single terminal solitary flowers which is pathy, and you can see this is the flower. And if you see the floral diagram that represent, this one is the bract, and here you can see these are the perianth which is arranged in two valves, and that represent these are the gamophilous in nature, and this structure is representing the corona which is formed by the junction of the perianth, and they have a 6 stamens which are arranged in also two valves, and the ganoecium is represented by tricarpellary syncarpus inferior ovary with trilocular axial presentation. And we can see clearly there is a formula, there is a floral formula of this particular plant that they have a bract. We can see clearly here they have a actinomorphic symmetry. The flower is bisexual. You can see both the sexual part androecium and ganoecium is present. Then they have a perianth which is 3+3. Then there is a formation of corona in this particular genus, that is the Narcissus, and the ganoecium is tricarpellary syncarpus with inferior ovary and showing the axial presentation. So you can see all the characteristics of this particular family. We can see visualize here from this particular floral parts of the Narcissus. Now moving towards the economic importance of this particular family, Amaryllidaceae. The plants of this particular family is also used as a food, like Astromeria, Curculia, or quite yield a edible yard starchy flour that is consumed by in many countries, and it also has a many medicinal benefits, like rhizome of Curculoga orchoides is used in case of a piles, jaundice, asthma, diarrhea, gonorrhea. So you can see it has a large number of medicinal benefits. Then Strinum also have a laxative and diuretic in nature, and Polyanthus tuberosa is used also in the gonorrhea. So you can see these plants, they have also many pharmacological benefits, as we have seen due to the presence of alkaloids. These families also have many pharmacological benefits, and we have earlier seen that the fermented juice from the flower axis of the agave, which is the national drink of Mexico and is commonly called as the pulque. From juice of the this particular, also there is a preparation of the also distilled spirit, and this particular family is also yield many fibers, like agave silsana and agave furicolex yield excellent fiber called sesame, hemp and henku respectively. And then Indian desert agave can also be extensively grown for the fiber industry and can be developed from it. Then many plants of this particular family has the ornamental and many plants of this particular family are grown ornamentally in the gardens, like agave, amaryllis, narcissus, galanthus, shrinum, asphaganthus, lycoris, leucogenum, which is also called as snowdrop, and polyanthus, which is also called as tuberose. So these all the plants are grown ornamentally in the gardens. So you can see this particular family has all type of economic importance, from food to medicine, ornamental plants, fibers, and also it is also used the drink. So now moving towards the primitive character of this particular family, as we have seen generally they have leaves which are simple type, then flowers are rarely solitary in nature, that is also as we have seen. Then flowers are hermaphrodite, actinomorphic and cyclic, and the seeds are endospermic. But this particular family has so many advanced characters, as mostly the plants are herbs, stem is rhizome, bulb or comb, which all are the underground stems, and the leaves are exstipulate types, and inflorescence is either umbellate cyme or that is protected by a spathe or bract, and the flowers are epigynous and rarely zygomorphic, and the presence of perianth. Then also there is a presence of a corona in the perianth. Then the ganoecium is syncarpus with inferior ovary and the axial presentation. So these are some advanced characteristics. Now moving towards the affinities of this particular family, Amaryllidaceae. Amaryllidaceae is closely related to the family Liliaceae, which we will discuss later in the course, in this particular course, which having the underground stem, exstipulate simple type of leaves with flower escapes, bracteate, actinomorphic and bisexual flowers, and perianth, which is arranged in tubers with 6 number, stamens which also in tubers with 6 number, epiphyllous, gynoecium with tricarpillary, syncarpus, trilocular with exalt presentation. So this all the characteristics is same with the Liliaceae family. But this Amaryllidaceae family differs from the Liliaceae, having inferior ovary, umbellate, cyme inflorescence and presence of corona. So these three characters makes the Amaryllidaceae family differs from the Liliaceae family, and according to the Hutchinson, Aspancathus form a connecting link between the Liliaceae and Amaryllidaceae, having the superior ovary of the former and scapose ambulate inflorescence suspended by the Spathacus bracts of the latter. So these are the that's all about the today's session. So this is all about today's session. Thank you all. That's all for the today's session. Thank you all for joining me. Thank you very much.